Sister Mary Margaret Beh,
Right,
formerly known as Sister Ann Pauline.
right.
Welcome. Now, the only word I know to call you, the only name I know is Sis. So, where in heaven's name did that come from? Sis Bay.
That came from my father, who I think Mary Margaret was quite a long name for a little child, and so my dad started calling me um, little sissy, and I kept complaining about I wasn't a sissy, and I didn't want to be called sissy, so they shortened it to sis, and that's been from my childhood.
Did your brothers and sisters call you Sis too?
Oh yes,
Yes.
oh yeah.
And tell me who your siblings were.
I had two brothers older, my brother Joe, and who is the father of 8 children, and my brother Bob was 2 years after Joe, and he became a Holy Cross priest, but left the priesthood after about 25 years and married. Um, and they're both deceased at this point. Excuse me. And then I'm 2 years after my brother Bob. And then 9 years later came my dear sister, Pauline.
Pauline
Yes.
is the one that lives out west, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, how did she get from Detroit out west?
It happened that my brother Bob was a Holy Cross priest and taught at the University of Portland in Oregon. And he was able to get a scholarship her for her college education, and so she moved to Portland, and uh, eventually married a boy that had gone to school with her, and so she stayed in Oregon.
Well, I just presumed that you were born in Detroit, but I'm not really sure of that, so you better correct me.
I was born in Birmingham, near Detroit,
Michigan.
Michigan, Birmingham, Michigan. Yes.
And why did you receive the name Mary Margaret, do you think?
Well, my mother's name was Margaret Mary,
Oh.
and that's how I got that name.
And am I right to presume you went to Adrian Dominican grade school and high school?
No, grade school I went to in Birmingham. We had IHM Sisters, and we didn't have a Catholic high school there, so I went to Royal Oak, Michigan, for high school, and that's where I met our sisters.
Oh, at St. Mary's.
Yes.
Yes. Who was the principal at that time?
Sister Cyprian.
Oh my.
Oh, she was a precious lady. I dearly loved her. She was elderly at the time, but she was a very good principal, and I can't say I really enjoyed high school too much because all my friends, I had a crowd that I went around with in Birmingham, and then met new ones in Royal Oak, but they weren't they were friends, but they weren't the crowd that I went around with, so it was complicated. I would have preferred to,
Gone to school with them?
yeah. I tried to get my mother to let me go to the public school in Birmingham, but no way.
No. Well, thank God you wouldn't be here today if,
Right,
if
probably
you'd
not.
gotten your way.
Yeah, probably not.
Sis, tell me this. Did you enter right from high school?
No, I came to Siena for a half a year. And my parents asked me to, take my time with it, and I chose to take my time anyway because I wasn't absolutely sure that that's what I wanted to do or what I felt I should do. But it didn't take long. Once I was here and saw the novices, it was where I wanted to be.
And how did you approach the congregation? Was it through one of the nuns, or did you come right over here and knock on the door?
You know who was very instrumental and who was a good friend of mine was Sister Lourdes.
Oh,
She was such fun, and I just enjoyed her so much. And she was, I don't know, at that time, I think she was secretary to Bertha.
oh
And
my.
so I got to, see her often over there. Um, she, I had first met her at, I think we had the Oaks at that time, and she was living at the Oaks. But then she came in to be a secretary. I'm not sure about that whole, that was a long time ago.
May I ask your age today? How old you are today?
I'm 95. I will be 96 in May.
Oh my, 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 my. My. I bow to you. The unfortunate thing is you do not look or act 95.
Well,
I know that you scoot over on your buggy there every time a sister dies. Tell us exactly what you do once our sisters die.
I work over in archives, and I arrange the pictures that are um, displayed in the chapel.
The
in the chapel.
collage. Mm-hmm.
And that's always a real joy to me, and it helps me to know some of the people. I was west so long that I missed out on, um, getting to know a lot of the sisters from this area. And so it has been a joy to me to be able to, um, assemble pictures of people that have died. And I I enjoy the work. It's a little artistic, and it's just nice to be able to do something.
It touches your gifts.
Yeah.
Where did the gift of art come from? Someone in the family, or just by
Yes,
nature?
I had two aunts that were. I have I had an aunt that um, entered the Divine Providence Sisters in Pennsylvania, and my family's from Pennsylvania, and she was an artist, um, not the same kind of artist that I became, but and then also uh, uh, my younger aunt that also was an artist, so that runs in the family, I guess.
And didn't you go to Cranbrook somewhere along the line?
I did. I lived very close to Cranbrook, and as a teenager, I went to Cranbrook, and then um, in the community, I was able to go back to, um, do some painting there. And Sister Helene uh, also went to Cranbrook, and she, because we lived very close to that, um, she was able to um, come to our house and use one of our rooms for her commission work that she wasn't allowed to do at Cranbrook.
Oh my.
So she worked in our house, and my parents just felt that was such a privilege.
Did she
to
did
get to
she
know
live there too? I mean, did she have a
my mother transported her back and forth to
grandpa?
St. Mary's.
Oh.
That was the nearest convent that we had.
Oh my.
So
Had you gotten to know Sister Helene when you were at Siena?
Yes, I did.
Mhm.
See, right from the very beginning of my postulancy, I was sent up to the studio to start, working in the studio, and so I got to know Sister Helene right away.
You were one of the privileged to enter that sacred space of Sister Helene O'Connor's.
I guess so. And,
Yes.
and I appreciated her. She was such a genius, and once you got to know her, you got to know another side that she didn't always display. She was a charming, wonderful, uh, brilliant woman.
Sis, what was your favorite medium?
Well, two things. I love calligraphy, um, and I love watercolor. Those are my two favorites.
Do we have any of your gifts hanging on our walls?
No, well, the only thing that I have found here of mine is the St. Joseph that's right by it's the little triptych that I had done for Dominican High's chapel and the convent chapel.
Is it there by Holy Rosary Chapel?
It's right by as you go the tunnel way on
Oh,
the
yes.
wall
Oh, that's
by St.
beautiful.
Joseph's.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's quite lovely.
Yeah.
You probably hold a record also for with your calligraphy of making spiritual bouquets through the years.
Indeed. Every time that there was a feast day or Christmas, um, I would make the cards for the superior, and often be up at 2 o'clock in the morning finishing it or doing it.
Well, you talk about your time out in California. Were you ever missioned any place besides California?
I was. I started out at St. Matthew's in Chicago, and for 3 years, and then I went to St. Nick's in Chicago for 3 years, and then I came to Mary's downtown so that I could study in this studio on weekends. And then from there I went to Dominican High, and I was the artist when Rosary, not Rosary, Regina began. I was the artist for a couple of years, and then I went to Hoban.
Oh my!
For 9 years.
Wow!
And then I was sent back to Dominican for another 4 years, and then I went into chaplain work.
Oh my heavens!
Yeah.
Well, what a history! I mean, you've really been at all of our high schools somewhere
Yes.
except Rosary.
Yes.
Right. And which one? This is a daring question. Which was your favorite place?
Dominican.
Dominican.
I love Dominican.
Who was the principal superior at that time?
I had Mary Alice was my first, and then Michael Dennis, who left the community. She was for 1 year, and then at Hoban I had Andrew and Grace Ellen.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it chaplaincy that took you out west?
I decided at to go into chaplain work when I was at Dominican the second time, and I chose to go to Houston, Texas for my CPE, and I had wonderful experience there. It was a real good training place.
May I ask how old you were at that?
At that point, I was in my 50s.
Mm-hmm. I presume this was after Vatican II.
After Vatican II, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you take to Vatican II easily?
Oh, yes. It was refreshing and wonderful. Just opened up everything.
So did you get on a plane in Houston and fly to California?
Oh, I didn't mind flying, but I was always wishing my family was closer, because when I was in California, I was closer to them, but it still was, 700 miles away, but that was closer than from here, and I was happy to go there.
Where were you stationed in, or where did you choose?
All the time I was in California, I was in Santa Cruz.
Oh.
And I worked at the hospital as a chaplain for 10 years as a paid employee, and then at that point I was ready for retirement, and so I volunteered for 10 years there.
Is that when Julie Heyer was at the hospital?
Yes, Julie was president at part of the time.
And who were the other sisters that were there? Jean, I presume.
Well, Jean came. Yes, Jean came a
Jean
little
Burns.
later. Beth Butler, Judy Silva, Veronica Kelly. Let's see, who else did we?
Was it Madeline? Madeline Durbin.
Madeline.
Mm-hmm.
What's her name?
That's okay. Sis, tell me this. What brought you to the Mother House? I mean, to Maria. I shouldn't say what, but
yeah. Well, I came. See, I worked till I was 80.
Oh my, God bless you.
And so I figured it was time to hang things up and come. And I came joyfully. It was my decision, and I had no ill feelings about. I realized that I was elderly, and this was the place that I should be. So it was okay to come.
Well, you brought with you, I know, the skills of playing hand and foot. Where did you learn that?
Gloria Lero taught us. What a dear person.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't live long enough. She came west, and we were playing rummy at the time, and that was our card game. And she taught us hand and foot, and it just took over. So
I bet you miss Catherine Deutsch because I know you played with her every week. Mm-hmm.
I do. She was a very.
Weren't you about the same
person.
age?
We're the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's few months older than I am.
Were you in the same crowd?
No, No, she's a year ahead of me.
Mhm.
So the only one, the two that were here, and the last three of us were Virginia Laterell and Marie Bride Walsh.
Oh, yes.
And myself.
Mhm.
We were now it's just Marie Bride and
Mhm.
myself.
Sis, I was impressed when I saw in your room here on the back of the door the memorial cards of all of our sisters who have died.
Uh-huh.
Is that a reflection for you on your own death?
I'm not afraid of death at all. In fact, there are times when I long for it. You know, um, when when you feel that um, you're not as, I shouldn't say useful, but as engaged in something that's meaningful. Um, I'm not anxious to die, but I am willing to accept it and sort of hope that it, you know,
Comes
doesn't go
quickly.
on too long.
It's a very sacred moment, isn't it?
It is.
Yes, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been with our sisters when they have died, have you
Oh
not?
yes.
Mm-hmm. There's
It,
something very sacred about that moment.
well, you know, when someone dies, I think of how wonderful it must be, you know, to meet God face to face, and you know, I don't believe in the thing of punishment anymore. I feel our life is a struggle, and that's punishment enough.
That's beautiful.
You know,
Thank you,
uh,
sis. One last thing. When you look back over your life and the incredible women that you have lived with, who would you like to be sitting in my place right now, living or deceased? So you could have a meaningful.
conversation with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably Sister Grace Ellen. Um, she was from the same area. You know, she was a Royal Oak girl, and I was really Birmingham, but I met our sisters in Royal Oak, and she was my superior for 3 years, and I just have always admired her gentleness and um, her leadership quietly, and she was such a precious woman to me um, that, you know, I think she is the very special one that I'm anxious to meet again.
And she'll be there to meet
Yeah,
you, I'm sure.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, sis. This has been delightful.
Well, thank you too. I appreciate it.